New pastures to graze in 2024. Welcome to Between the Horns, presented by your Southern California Toyota dealers. Sitting alongside my good friends Maurice Jones-Drew, JV Long, I'm Camryn Irwin, and Between the Horns means it's the start of season. We're here at training camp. And guys, how's your summer been, more importantly?
I had a good summer. I had a fun one. I ran with the bulls, swam in the Mediterranean. Yeah, the real bulls, swam in the Mediterranean to cleanse myself.
I thought there was going to be a whole new version of Rams Radio in 2024.
Yeah,
you had me worried.
JB, I still got it. Not as much as I thought I did. As I've gotten older, the jump cut and the hurdle is not as crisp as it used to be, right? I used to be able to clear like 3 or 4 feet. I cleared like a foot, and then I tried to jump cut, and the jump cut wasn't as far. Stumbled. My daughter was there to save me, though. I didn't get gored or anything. I had
young man's game in Pamplona.
It is. You know what? I still feel young. In my mind, I'm still young. So, I won't say I'm 18, but I'm more like, 28.
I'm just wondering what that 40 time looked like. You got a bull behind you. I imagine it's going a lot quicker.
I don't even think I ran 40 because I almost pulled up, too. I didn't put that part in there. Tightened up at the end, When you're running for your life and there's everyone around you, you start to overstride a little bit. Hammy almost came out, but it's all right. We made it through.
Not on the pup list.
No, I'm here. I made it.
What about you, JV? Best part of your summer?
The golf game is in as good a shape as it's ever been. Played a lot of nice tennis with my wife, and kids are all happy and healthy, thank goodness. I love that part of the year. Vacation's important, family's important, but I woke up today 10 out of 10. I don't know about you. This is professionally as good as it gets for me from now until January, hopefully February, knowing that I'm going to be talking to you and MJD and DeMarco and Stu and Ricky day in and day out about these players and coaches. There's nothing I love more than being a part of the Rams and break it all down, including here on Between the Horns. So I'm great.
Well, you like the schedule release in the offseason. This might be my favorite day. And it's wild. You think about where we were at last year. We were making jokes that we would need name tags. However, some of those names now could have placards. They could be engraved because they have done a phenomenal job in the 2023 season. So I have to say, what are your feelings coming into this camp? Because it is starkly different than having to deal with the 40 new faces we did a year ago.
Well, I think you're dealing with expectation now. Like last year, there was no expectation. I remember coming last year, it's like, what is it going to look like? Aaron Donald's on defense. Offense has to carry all and then they got hot late in the year. They stumbled early on, got hot, and then, you made the playoffs. Now, people are picking the Rams to win the NFC West. People are picking the Rams to go to the playoffs. Who? Well, at least second.
You are? Who?
Yeah, but other people are saying second in the playoffs.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's fine.
Hey, he's somebody. Give him a break.
Yeah.
No, I am, but look at his shirt.
What's wrong with my shirt?
Who's not wearing Rams colors saying that?
I think a lot of people deep down inside know what it could be.
I don't totally disagree with what you're saying, but I would rephrase it as the Rams this year are respected, not expected. Right?
Okay.
Like, I don't think anyone's going to fade a Sean McVay, Matthew Stafford team again.
Right.
They made that mistake last year, and it backfired on them. But I don't see many people picking them to go to the Super Bowl or topple the 49ers yet this year.
You know, it's so funny you say that because last year, a lot of people, they said that if the Rams beat Detroit, that they were going to go to the Super Bowl and make that run. Like we felt
we
that
said
way.
That too.
Yeah, but a lot of people felt that though. Like a lot of people in the national media and around the league felt like if the Rams were able to get past Detroit, they would have a chance to make a run on it. To me, what's the only difference is no 80. I know we're going to get to that.
Yeah.
But you still have so many of those same pieces that were making big time plays in that game. Your quarterback is back. You have a great running game. You add it to your offensive line. You add it to your defensive line. Your defense as a whole. I think the Rams. I mean, there is expectation, and there as there should be. I think everyone, you should expect to go out there and perform well at a high level. It may take the defense a little bit longer to catch up because so much is missing from Raheem Morris to a new DC and new pieces and new coaches all over the place. But at the end of the day, you still have the big three. And the big three now, instead of AD, is going to be Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp and Matthew Stafford. You have to contend with that.
I will say that I feel as good as I possibly could about the Los Angeles Rams not seeing the best Ram that I've ever witnessed on the field, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's pretty much what a lot of pundits are saying is, all due respect to what McVay and the Rams did last year, but how can we presume that you're going to get better without the GOAT. And I think once again here in 24, the Rams are going to have to be better than the sum of their parts. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think they do that better than any professional franchise around the globe. So I'm excited for them to do that, even if you're spending the summer like I do looking at like position rankings on ESPN.com. And other than Stafford maybe getting a nod, as a top 5 quarterback the way he played last year, not many other individuals have that household name recognition yet.
Puka has a household name.
All right, yeah.
He does now.
You know what I mean, though, right?
Yeah.
Like, is anyone saying Puka's a top 5 receiver in the National Football League?
I think I do believe this. I believe from the end, because obviously we have the inside info. We're here, we see him. We were in OTAs. OTAs really put that spark back in me because I saw Cooper Kupp competing with Puka Nacua nonstop. Looks healthy, looks great. So then I'm not going to go out and tell everybody that, but I'm just saying, to me, it's uh-oh.
You know what I thought of this week is when you and I were watching in the spring OTAs. This young defense still has a lot to prove. And there were moments up at Kalu and Thousand Oaks where the defense was treating the spring as if it was their Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And on the other side of the football, there were a lot of offensive vets being like, hey, chill. Some of us have won a Super Bowl. Put your pads on. We'll see you in August, right? And that's where we are now. I think there is going to be some of that carry through where there's competitive intensity and things to be resolved within this 90-man roster.
Well, before we get into the defense and a couple position groups, we also had some exciting news as of yesterday. We may not have 99, but we do have QB number 1. There was some fun stuff happening here at LMU and a little bit of a change-up with a contract adjustment for Matthew Stafford. Let's check out what head coach Sean McVay had to say about the new contract.
I was grateful that we were able to get the solution, and I was also grateful for a lot of the dialogue that was able to exist. Matthew and I have a relationship that I really value where we can have honest feedback, and there was some real conversations that existed that I think were really healthy for us to be able to move forward in the right direction, and he was great. His group was great, and that was the goal. But I am relieved that it got done, and I think in the manner at which it occurred was also healthy for everybody involved, and ultimately I'm excited for this team.
Guys, your thoughts. Sean McVay yesterday addressing media and the new contract for Matthew Stafford. JV's already smiling.
That's because MJD is like my Rosetta Stone when it comes to contracts.
Get it done. I love it. Get it done, right? You don't want to come into this season with you see the New York Jets, they have Hassan Reddick, then that's a whole big distraction and all these. It's just get here, get everybody set, make everyone happy for the most part. I know Matthew Stafford probably wants more security, but he got what he needed to be able to play this year. You play well this year, we'll look forward to the other part, but you have your team together, and that's the most important part of training camp. I remember when I held out in 2012, it wasn't necessarily the business side that suffered because the business side is going to take care of itself. It was being with my teammates and getting that camaraderie. So I had to wait. I didn't really start running until week 4 because I had to take a whole month to get back acclimated to my offensive line, seeing how fast the defense was, getting my eyes right. To get everybody in training camp and get those steps going is the most important thing. And then to get your leader here, right, the guy that, as we saw last year, take that step that you needed to in the second half of the season, to get him here to get that fresh start is going to be good.
Camryn, I can usually pick a side on these types of conversations, right? You could see one case, one leverage over another. This is one of the rare ones where I think both sides were right. Both sides had a lot of leverage, and I'm glad that they didn't necessarily try and weaponize them against each other, and most importantly, things are going to be right moving forward. But if I'm sitting across the table from Matthew Stafford and he's saying, you look at the 10, 11, 12, maybe soon to be 13 guys who are going to make more than I am this year at my position, and I know that we can go through him and say he's not better than I am. He's not wrong. But some of them are significantly younger than he is. Let's face it, there have been moments in each of the last 2 seasons, New Orleans in 22, Dallas in 23, where we wondered fairly whether Matthew Stafford was going to play another down in the National Football League, right? So if the goal is to extend his prime and his legacy, and it is, we all agree that it is, that is this moment in Rams history right now, then I think collectively they needed to put the right plan together, and they built around a contract that was only 2 years old to begin with to make sure that he has that opportunity from a competitive roster-building standpoint. And so if they now see eye to eye on that and he feels right about the compensation that he's getting this year and beyond, then great. let's get to it.
Well, and I think it's phenomenal, too, because I think back to the presser as of yesterday and some of the elements that kept coming up from Sean McVay as he talked about not only gratitude, but also his relationship with Stafford. Talked about sitting down, looking him eye to eye and having that conversation. And something else he said, not just in this interview, but in another as well, he said, communicate to connect and listen to understand. And I think that relationship with Sean and, of course, Matthew is one of the biggest difference makers. And you're going to see it come to life that much more in 2024.
I completely agree, and I'm glad that this is not going to derail the storyline that I was banking on, which is Stafford and Kupp going through an offseason program together. Because if you look at the results they've had since they got together in 2021, both healthy, pouring into their offseason in that first year together, and the results were a Triple Crown, a World Championship, and a Super Bowl MVP. In 22, we know that this time of year Stafford was waving towels and on a pitch count not throwing footballs. And while, he may have been able to feed Cooper Kupp statistically at the front end of that year, it didn't work out well. Not for the Rams, not for Cooper Kupp, not for Matthew Stafford. Last year, it was Kupp's turn to be limited, and even though Matthew and the offense thrived on the whole in 2023, Cooper wasn't right, and we also those moments of disconnect, right, where it's like, hey, this beautiful partnership is not in lockstep like they usually are. All that to say, this time right now, this offseason, this summer, they are as close to and maybe even ahead of where they were in 2021. And I would like to believe, I'm not predicting a Triple Crown season, that those results are going to be more like what we see from 9 and 9.
Yeah, no, I definitely believe last year you saw like the outs. It just wasn't there. It wasn't connected. And that's what I was talking about, making sure everybody's in camp. Because you get that right now. By the time September, October comes, you get in November when football starts or the weather starts to change, these guys will be ready and they'll be in sync. So it's like I said, it's so important from a team standpoint, especially in the front office, to try to make sure everyone's here so you can get ready. If your goal is to win a championship, to be the Super Bowl champion, everyone has to be in camp together, going through the grind, doing all the little stuff that needs to be. And I love the fact that they're in the dorms. Right, that you're not going to go home. You're in the dorms with your buddy. I don't know who roommates with who, right? But you're going to be with that person for a long time, and that relationship is going to continue to grow.
Now, it's been 192 days since we were at Ford Field, and we'll get a chance to see the Detroit Lions really early this year. I'm curious, has your perception of the Los Angeles Rams shifted and changed considering minicamp, OTAs, and, of course, the draft now coming into training camp?
I just felt like the Rams decided to get more physical.
Oh, yeah.
And that, to me, is, I mean, JB, when we first started calling the games when Sean got here, it was outside zone, more finesse, blocking, kind of getting on edges. Now it's just like, look, we got big linemen. We have big men up front. We're going to run down here. We're going to play action pass. We're going to try to beat you up. And guess what? That's what Detroit wants to be too. So it kind of fits the mold of both. I thought the schedule makers made a great decision having them on that Sunday Night Football because, again, Stafford gets to go back to Detroit. Right, a little revenge game. You lost the last time you were up there. You had Eminem and all that stuff. But the way the Rams switched their identity, we talked about this in like a 2-year span of getting bigger, stronger, downhill run game, drafting Corum out of Michigan to really fit what they want. Oh, my goodness. Like, I'm excited.
You're thinking along my wavelength because when I look at kind of the arc of Sean McVay's tenure, you mentioned 2017, and when they find something, they often double down on it and perfect it, right? So 17, they're like, oh, we got something here.
Yeah.
And then they get Brandon Cooks, and they take it to the nth degree, and all of a sudden they're the most dominant offense, 11 personnel's humming, they get to the Super Bowl. They do it again with Matthew Stafford when they make that trade, and 2021 worked out as well as any of us could have imagined. And I would argue they did try to double down on that again in 2022. Unfortunately, they learned some hard lessons, and it backfired. It didn't go the way that they thought it would. But here they are again coming off, I think, a great year, especially offensively in 2023. And what do? They double down on it to perfect it. And I know that they did that, like you said, because they drafted Blake Corum. Why do they do that? To make sure that just in case something goes wrong with Kyren Williams, they don't have to change.
Right.
And I know, to your point about physicality, too, that this is not a finished product. It's a work in progress in terms of what they're going to be and the scheme that they're going to deploy. But they got a really good sense. But what they have to fall back on now, I think, is the best offensive line they've had definitely since Andrew Whitworth retired, maybe going back to that early 17-18 group. And physicality is always in vogue.
physicality always plays, and they drafted with an intentionality for toughness such that if things don't go perfectly according to plan, they're not backing down from Detroit. They're not worried about the San Francisco 49ers in either side of the trenches. Like, they can go win with their disposition while they figure out what the next iteration of their scheme is going to be.
It's going to be terrifying, I think, of Avila now moving to the center. I mean, those three interior, it's going to be a terrifying front to have to go up against. There's no doubt about it. But, guys, we got to circle back. Missing 99, and not just a 99, the 99 from camp. The biggest question this offseason has been, how do you fill the void? And there's no one-for-one. We already know that. Where do you even begin?
Well, you begin with saying thank you and having gratitude for what he was able to do for this franchise. That's where it starts. I was shocked. I texted JB when I saw it come across the screen. I was like, JB, are you kidding me? He was playing phenomenal. It was like it was clicking, and it was like you never leave when everything is going well. You
That's
stay.
Not the first thing he said. The first thing he said is,
"No,
how's this guy turning down this much money?"
Yeah, well, I did say that.
How much money is he walking away from?
Yeah, I don't want to count his pockets, but you're right. I did say that. But then, like the football guy in me was like, dude. You found a running mate that takes double teams away. Now you're getting singled up against the Giants. You're starting to, and you can keep going. But
now that you've heard him explain himself, though, doesn't it make
I understood too.
better sense?
I understood it. I understood at that point. I mean, like I said, the fan of me was like, dude, no. But then the player in me is like, look, I get it, right? You've done it. You've accomplished everything you wanted to accomplish. You know, you've made a lot of money. You've done all the things you wanted to do. You want to go out when you want to go out. And I respect that. And so. Now it comes to I think DeMarco said it best. You just throw bodies. Yeah. You throw bodies at it, right? But I think the Rams hit on I know they hit on their first two picks. And it's going to be exciting to see those two guys play together, the way they did at Florida State, the way they dominated, the way they play off each other. That's going to be exciting to see and watch. It's going to be exciting to see the other young guys from last year step up. It's going to be exciting to see some of the new guys that have come in from other teams to kind of mold and see how that fits. But I think it's going to take some time because, again, you're missing a guy that had to get triple teamed by a lot of people, right? And so it's going to take a little bit of time, but as they get going, I think they'll be fine.
That time is what this camp is for. I mean, let me start on offense and answer a question about Aaron Donald by saying if I had to draw up the two deep right now, like I think I could probably pick 24 out of the 25 offensive Rams that are going to be there on the initial 53-man roster, right? Like there's that much continuity and I think certainty. On defense, like 9 or 10 roster spots and a whole bunch of roles within that who gets a helmet on game day defense, which is to say that first let's acknowledge that as much as we like some of the defensive moments the Rams had in 2023, statistically it was not a good defense. Statistically, it's a defense that can get much better here in 2024, which is a paradox because you're losing the best defensive player maybe in the game's history. They're not going to get better at defensive tackle. But they can get better just about everywhere else, and they can get better at, non-offensive touchdowns and takeaways and pressure, and they can get it in different ways. They're going to have to because I think it's a reasonable hope and expectation that under Chris Shula's leadership, they can make strides on defense. And with this offense, I don't know that you're asking much more of this defense than like 3-4 stops a game and a takeaway. Like that'll play on a lot of weeks if this offense is doing what we think they're capable of doing.
I think the most important thing is going to be stopping the run. Last year was a little leaky at times, and then when we got to Detroit just ran the ball. That's what they want to do. They want to be physical. So you get a chance to really show, have you fixed some of the issues that you had last year with different pieces this year? And it's always it's always poetic. Like how you finish is how you start. Most of the league is so like how you come in is how you leave most of the time. But how you finished last season normally is how you're going to start this season. So you're going to get a chance to kind of rectify some of those issues you had defensively, starting with Detroit and what they have going on.
I'll tell you what I didn't expect to be able to say in late July of 2024, though, after Aaron retired, is that the Rams will be okay in terms of their toughness and disposition. To go back to your previous point, like I always felt like on game day when Aaron was there, you knew what your worst case scenario was. Right? And if there needed to be an enforcer for whatever was going on, you knew who to turn to. And I think based on who they've acquired and who they've drafted, they've done really well to kind of replace some intestinal fortitude that was elite, right?
Well, and I think it's huge, the fact that you get Byron Young as well as Kobe Turner with at least a year alongside Aaron Donald, because to your point, it establishes that toughness and it propels it into this season. Guys, I'm thinking about a little inspiration because it's going to be defense by committee, right?
Yeah.
You got Byron Young, you got Kobe Turner, you got some great names. You mentioned Jared Verse, Braden Fisk coming out of the draft. I think you don't have to look that far in terms of defense by committee than our own history books. I think of the Fearsome Foursome. I know we're going way back to the 1960s, but come on now. Deacon Jones practically invented the sack.
Yeah.
He was so dangerous, and I think that unit is something that we can even look back to. I also like what Sean McVay had to say about letting this team kind of build their own identity, especially the defensive side, saying no one's going to fill Aaron's shoes, but he did mention that it has to be organic. And I think that's something that you're going to find is kind of that journey here at training camp for that crew. How does that defensive unit build their own identity and let it come together on its own?
It reminds me of OTAs when Jared Verse was getting into it with all the tight ends and the tackles, right? And
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, he was barking and he was talking trash and normally Sean's like, hey, stop, right? Like the old Sean McVay would be like, hey, we don't need all that. Now he kind of stepped to the side, like, hey, let you guys figure it out. Because, again, you got to figure out if these young guys are going to be able to go out there and make some plays for you.
But you're telling me there's not a tight end or two or a tackler or two who's waiting for Jared
Oh, no
Verse
question.
to
Oh,
walk
yeah.
into the
Oh.
NFL moment here? Okay.
JB, okay, he's going to do an inside move, and he's not going to see a guard or Steve Avila come and just clean him up. And then, it may get a little handsy, but it's going to be their waiting
Let me
line.
introduce you to Jonah Jackson. He's new here, and
Exactly.
so are you.
We didn't see him, so you're going to see him now.
All right, you guys ready for a little bit more fun?
Yes.
We got
Always.
a few more minutes left. I put this on our rundown, and I put the no-name game. Our lovely producer, Jory, said, well, maybe it should be called Fill in the Blank. We're just going to go with it's a working title at this point. This is a facilitator of conversation for us. Instead of running through from top to bottom each of our position groups, I'm going to give you a prompt. You give me the position group or a name, it could be a singular athlete, to fill the void. Does
You've
this
always
make
wanted to be a
sense?
game show host, haven't
I mean,
you?
I do like
Yes.
my games. Come
I'm
on now.
nervous now.
So there's only one twist. You can't use the same position group or the same name twice through these prompts. So if you use offensive line to start the first, they're off
They're
the
out.
table just for you.
Okay.
Okay, so JB, you could use them later on.
Okay, so I can agree with him or use the same
You can
answer
use the
with.
same.
Okay.
But you have to keep track
But
of
just
your
because he says offensive line, I can use it later in the show.
Exactly.
All right.
Your answers are singular, and there's no real winner to this game unless we vote at the end.
Oh, there's going to be a winner.
Always a winner. Always
we
competing.
can leave it up to the comment section, too. You can vote on their
That's fine.
answers. I got a couple. You also have to describe why. Give me a
Okay.
little sustenance, all right? Okay. Do we understand the game?
Yep.
Not
your-
really, but go ahead.
Well, let's see if we can figure it out. Your first prompt. You're most excited to watch?
Oh, I go first?
Yeah, sure.
Steve Avila, singular, not the offensive line, him particular at the center position, coming from guard, moving to the center, have to make the calls is going to be very important in this offense. There's going to be a lot of pressure on this offense to go out and score points, and it all starts with the center. And JB said this last year that they drafted him to play guard, but possibly move to center, and to see him be able to take on what he learned last year, to be able to point to where the running game is going to be, to point to the protections and be able to slide. Even though Matthew Stafford's going to be back there to help, he's going to have that initial understanding of the defense and what's going on. And then obviously getting to sit down and talk to him. He's an awesome dude. But he doesn't play like that. He's like a great guy, but then on the field, he's like
He flips the switch.
Yeah, he flips it. So it's going to be exciting to see how his mind works and if he's on the same page with Matthew Stafford.
I am going to say I am most excited to see the secondary come together, and specifically Trey White. Shout out to Tyler Higbee. I hope that recovery is on track and can't wait to see you back out here sooner rather than later. But the fact that Tyler is the only one, according to Sean McVay, who's going to start this camp on the PUP list, I think is a really encouraging sign for White specifically, who we did not get to see go in the spring. And if he is even a high percentage of what he has been at times in his NFL career, I think that raises the ceiling on this secondary, which right now has a lot to sort through between now and when they kick off in Detroit.
Guys, I want in on the mix, too. I'm going to give you my own answers. So I'm going most excited to watch. Yeah, come on now.
You get to play, too.
I want to put my name in the
I
hat.
like it.
Hey, I want to be a winner, so let's see what we can do here. Just because it's the easy answer doesn't mean that it's wrong. And I'm going to go with Jared Verse, only because this week as I'm running on the treadmill, I'm pulling up highlights, and I am getting stoked because it is so fun to watch his speed off the edge. I was also really impressed with his ability. It felt like every sack he had in 2023, it was almost on a second effort play where he'd pushed already past the quarterback and he's wrapping back around to find him. I also thought he was really good coming in with an interior move, and he was really fast to the sidelines chasing down running backs. I thought the lateral motion was pretty impressive, so I am looking for Jared Verse for this year.
Running
I
with
like
the
it.
Bulls, running on a treadmill,
Yeah.
walking.
Swinging clubs in the golf cart. All the good stuff.
I did text him yesterday. I was like, hey, what do you think about this?
Oh, no, don't.
Ed, come on now.
Don't put me out there like that. I was working.
Right. Look at this. I'm going to get him in trouble now.
I was folding laundry. What are you talking about?
Oh, my goodness.
Okay, your next prompt, guys. Let's go with will be the most impactful.
Can I go?
Yeah, you
Go
can
ahead,
start.
You go first.
Joshua Carty, no question. You don't need to hear why.
Yeah, that's easy.
JB, you know I picked him in fantasy, right?
Did you?
Oh, yeah.
Why are you drafting in July?
Because I'm in an 18-team league, a family league. It's ridiculous, but we drafted, and I was like, oh, yes. I got the inside scoop. For me, most impactful, I'm going to go with I truly believe, I think it's Kyron Williams. I think he has to do what he did last year plus some. You know, at the end of the year, he was able to rush for 1,000 yards. I want to say after he missed the 5 games. And so you're expecting that plus a little bit more. His running game is what really took this team to the next level. His ability to be able to manipulate the linebackers, manipulate the defensive line, and have something that Sean McVay and Matthew Stafford can lean on. We always talk about the quarterback position. It's hard to be on every play where I have to read the defense and do all this. Matthew Stafford can take plays off now. Turn around, hand the ball off, take a deep breath, maybe 2 or 3 times. Maybe like Baltimore, run it 9 times in a row, or maybe 15 times to get a score. But again, run that ball to get that offensive line going forward to set up what you want to do.
You're still salty about how that red zone
drive
stalled out.
Oh, my goodness.
Watch the running backs in the pass game this year, too. I think between Kyron and Blake, they could really set a new high water mark for how they catch passes and get yards after catch.
All right, I'm going offensive line. Will be the most impactful because you guys are talking about the running game. Well, already from 2022 to 2023, we improved in that regard in total rushing from 27 to number 11. I think that's only going to increase this year. A big part is obvious reasons. You look through, and we talked about that offensive front. So that's where I'm going.
She's beating us, isn't she?
Most impactful.
She's got the first 2.
I have a little bit of a leg up because I invented the game.
Yes.
And
so
you
it's fine.
invented the questions.
And
but it's
invented,
okay. I'm still competing.
It's fine. Had the best offseason. Do this one real quick. What you got?
Who had the best offseason?
Yeah,
Cooper
take
Kupp.
it whichever way you want to.
On social media, Cooper Kupp had the best offseason. He's jacked. He's jacked up. I've seen him lifting. He had Puka with him.
I thought you meant like podcast coffee.
Yeah, that's what I was
too.
thinking.
But he's been working out. Social media, IG. He got the guns. He's ready to go.
I mean, I was thinking Ernest Jones. Played a lot of golf. Got a clothing line.
Oh, that's good too.
I'm going Puka Nakua. Jordan Brand. Come
He had a
on
lot
now.
of fun.
He was in Indy racing. He was all sorts of stuff.
I thought this was supposed to be like football related, not like overall.
Again,
but
we're making up the rules as we go.
Okay.
Let's go with, I'm going to skip ahead a little bit because we're running short out of time. I don't know why. Biggest surprise for this coming year. Who's going to be the biggest surprise or position group that's going to be the biggest surprise?
Go ahead.
Colby Parkinson.
Oh, my goodness.
Okay.
Did I steal or
You stole it, but it's okay. Go ahead. I'll agree.
No.
Go ahead.
You explain the why.
Well, I think red zone. We talked about run blocking, and he was graded, and you said PFF was one of the top tight ends. I don't see him as that. I see him as a red zone target to be able to throw a fade to, right? To be able to stretch the defense vertically in the red zone to get that mismatch. Something that the Rams, Tyler Higbee was at early in his career, can run the option routes. Colby Parkinson can do that as well. But to have a big body where you can just throw the ball up, an easy fade, and have that be an 80-20 ball, to me, makes sure your offense that much more dangerous.
I put putting 6-7 in your huddle in that tight red area and having DeMarcus Robinson, who I thought unlocked a lot of that red zone offense once he came into the mix deep in last season. I think that has the potential to be really explosive to help them finish drives because they were elite in that way last year.
Yes.
Red zone conversion.
So I'm forever the optimist. I'm going to go biggest surprise for this upcoming year is going to be special teams because I think the new kickoff is going to give us maybe a little bit of a different look and maybe a leg up. We saw Tutu Atwell having conversation. He's going to be fielding kicks. I also think there's going to be a ton of creativity. And I don't know, JB, what did you learn about the new kickoff? Your son was teaching you.
Somebody's got to.
I don't even know what it is.
You want to describe that on?
I was actually watching your IG, and I saw it. And it started to make a little sense.
Would you want to roll? Would you want to be one of the 2 deep men if you go back to your playing days under these rules?
Oh no! Give me the guys that run down 50 yards because they're exhausted by the time they get down there. I hate when they're right there close. They're fresh.
But in terms of like your running back instincts, it's like a scrimmage play, right? It's almost like playing against cover 0 or something where if you break through, you might house one.
No, it is, but I just think if a guy's running from like the 30-yard line and I catch it in the end zone or whatever it may be, like he's run 60 yards by the time he gets me. He's a little bit exhausted. He has to get off a block. Have a better chance than the guy being at the 30-yard line. But again, player safety, I think it'll work out. They'll figure out a way to score touchdowns.
I know it's definitely going to look different on TV. I can't wait to see how and what creative ways we come up to find some extra yardage. I'm going to go with making good strides is your next topic. Which group is going to be making good strides into this next year?
I'll go with the secondary. I completely believe John Johnson III is the key. Bringing him back is the key. Last year when they brought him back, that secondary gelled a little bit more. He's been in this system. He understands the way. I think Sean said it best, like he knows who we are and what we want and what we expect. So bringing him in, that secondary is going to have huge strides. You've added some, JB talked about Trey White coming in as well. But I think just that secondary, having Darius Williams back, it's just I just think they're going to make huge strides.
That's fair.
He was the last player I talked to when we broke the spring at OTA, so I'll go with Bobby Brown, who I think it's still just 23 years of age, is now in a year 4 contract opportunity, and he is unique within his position group. Like
30 pounds unique.
Yeah, he needs to be different, and he is different. And to your point about stopping early down runs, he's that guy.
He has to be the guy.
He's that guy.
Yep, I'm going to go with the secondary. Look at us, teaming up. Come on, man. I'm going secondary. I just think we added a lot of great pieces through free agency. I think Darius coming back is a big deal for us because there's some continuity there, which we do love. But, guys, I think it's time for us to wrap up because our guys are already getting
Who's
out
wrapping
on the
you?
field.
McVay?
No, Jory,
Oh.
Hirsch. I'm getting one of these. I'm getting the wrap it up signal, and the guys are on the field. So we will close out between the
It's just
horns.
day one install here, right?
Yeah,
I know.
This is nothing. We
got a lot of ways to
We
go.
can watch this right now. Film this. It'll be fine. Get the people the access.
Well, thanks so much for joining us here on Between the Horns, presented by your Southern California Toyota dealers. Don't forget, we've got athlete interviews and all sorts of fun insights coming to you from training camp. Thanks for watching.
Camryn, you won, by the way.
I won?
You won.
Oh, I mean, was it even close?